Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast.
Hey. All right, too many hays, I'm sorry. I'll get it right next time. Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast with your host, Jordan Giles, and your co-host, Shay Northrop, still out. He'll be back hopefully sooner than later. But in the meantime, let's just stick with me for a bit, okay? Not too bad, I promise. So this week in the television podcast, we're going to have a good bit to talk about, some fun things. We're going to talk about at first, though, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, starring Rachel Bloom, the show that's a comedy/musical about a woman who was once a lawyer in New York who was flat out miserable. And then all of a sudden, she sees the boy of her dreams, a guy that she dated in summer camp, as we said, and she saw that he was just in New York visiting, and he lived in West Covina, California. Her being a bit obsessive, mainly because of how miserable she was in New York, and, you know, I guess one of those old-fashioned romantic types. You know those kind of folks. We all know a couple romantic types. I'm a romantic type. I'm very romantic sometimes. Anyways, she moved to West Covina, California to be closer to the guy, and the rest of season 1 just was about her being stalking and obsessive in order to try to get with the guy of her dreams, all the while with musical numbers in between the episodes. It was incredibly fun. It won some awards, and it was something that was worth seeing a season 2 for, and that's why it got renewed. Now, as we're in 3 episodes of Rachel Bloom's Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, I'm going to talk to you guys about the show and how it's been doing and how I know we have to watch shows that we're not a fan of. I swear next week I'm going to come in with, well, I didn't like this and I thought this was pretentious and no, but for right now, I'm just going to say a lot of nice things about a couple, different shows. But Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, we're going to start it off. It's a show that it seems to stay quirky. I'd say what it has going for it is the quirk. It's a show that, while listening to it, while watching it, she does things that would make you cringe in a situation if you were just if you were watching Workaholics, if you were watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like, oh no, don't stalk a person. Oh no, don't fake a break into your house. That's not what normal people do. But throughout, you still end up kind of loving her for it, which is something that's very hard, I think, for a show, to do cringy things but make it endearing. It's a show that has a lot of heart, though, and it shows that people trying to live a modern fairy tale don't always get a fairy tale, but they're still creating their own, We're not necessarily looking for Cinderella, but maybe Cinderella if she had a Twitter account and also was a lawyer. And I think that's a show that I like. I like heart, and that's something I know Shay would make fun of me right now for it. But I'm not going to be guilty. I'm not going to act like, oh no, I shouldn't like this just because of all the heart it has. And that's something I think we're going to get into with these shows this week, or at least we're going to try to touch on shows that are they're cute. They have something that makes you want to come back to them. They make you feel good. So, in particular, we're going to also be talking about People of Earth, which is a new show coming out with Wyatt Cenac. People of Earth about Alien Support Group. and we'll still get into our weekly Walking Dead, as you can see by the title. I'm also wanting to touch in on Stan Against Evil and Ash vs. the Evil Dead again, and kind of a few comparisons between those two shows, what you love and what you don't like about them. But let's get back to Crazy Ex-Girlfriend at first. Now, I'm going to go ahead and compare Crazy Ex-Girlfriend with another musical comedy that we saw that is now canceled, but it had a good run of 2 seasons as well, and you can find it on Netflix. That show's going to be Gallivant. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard about Gallivant yet, or if that's something that flew past your radar. I know a lot of people that I think would have been fans of the show, but, they just never really gave it a chance. They missed it, never really heard about it. Gallivant was a show about a man who was a knight in a medieval kind of kingdom, and he has the love of his life stolen from him. That's very sad. Normally, whenever, a king comes in and steals the love of your life, you start to tear up a little bit, or at least you do that thing where you make a tear with your finger, just to kind of show like, oh, I'm so sad. It seems sarcastic, but I know it can be genuine sometimes. So he's on a quest to get back to the love of his life. This is, though, unlike a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Gallivant has a couple of differences. One being that the songs in Gallivant are incorporated in it, like a sing-songy, like Les Miserables, like as they're shooting the French Revolutionists, they're singing about it as well. While Crazy Ex-Girlfriend kind of takes a second away and does this little music video that's centered around the situation going on in the episode at the given time, Gallivant is more like, hey, I'm talking to this traitor. He doesn't want to trade something to me. Now I'm going to sing a song trying to convince this traitor to trade something to me. It's more incorporated into the show, and that makes things a little bit more fun. It makes things a bit more challenging to kind of fit it along. It's something that if you listen to a song on Gallivant, it's best to have the show there to watch with it. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, I can send a link to just one music video from the show, and it's still going to be recognizable. It's still going to be great. Like one of the last episodes they did was her being a cactus in a desert, saying she doesn't need many compliments to get by to store in her girl brain. One compliment should just be enough. Because she's like, like a cactus retaining water. I don't need to explain it to you. That's for the Cactus podcast. It's for the nature one. Watch one of those. The beautiful thing about it, though, in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, it seemed like they had a lot of ambition because they left the show on more of a cliffhanger. It's not that it was so much as a... Well, all right, let me explain it this way. So when Gallivant ended its first season and its second season, it seemed like there were things that they can go on and still work on it in the season 3, but it kind of felt more wrapped up. It's like they were constantly prepared for the ending of the show. Like, all right, guys, this is it. Season 1's over. We're totally getting canceled. We have a musical on TV that's a comedy. It's 2016. There's no way this is going to work, guys. We're not vaudeville. This is let's go ahead and let's say they got together or whatever, they're happy. And even though there was more of a cliffhanger that was definite in Gallivant, something about the show just felt more tightly wrapped up. Whereas you have Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, where season 1 concluded, by the way, spoiler alert, sorry, just one sentence, where she finally gets the guy, but she comes on too strong, and it already seems like he's having second thoughts about it. For some reason, and maybe this is just personally me, so feel free to disagree, when it came to Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, it felt more of this like, oh God, this story is not done. This is just one more episode. It's episode 20 out of 40. And it just felt like there was this incompleteness. But I think that really speaks to how great Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was in creating this interesting kind of love story. If you want a love story, train wreck story, whatever you prefer the term to be. Because you have these people, like it, and I guess, I'm coming up with the conclusion as I'm talking to you guys. It feels like it was more wrapped up and it was more kind of based around because it was something that you really got into. It's something that you really grow to love the characters. Whereas the difference with Gallivant, check it out on Netflix, although they did have the, oh, now there's a wicked witch, come back. You have to watch out for that one, too. You have to also... There's this idea of Gallivant being more of like a Saturday morning cartoon where, oh, this is really fun, but the emotional stakes don't really feel like something that you're going to keep coming back for every week to see what happens. Are the characters going to be okay? The stakes are higher, but it doesn't really feel that way. So I guess how we can say Crazy Ex-Girlfriend really does succeed, and why you guys should be watching it if you haven't already, because both of these I think have flown, past the radar of a lot of people I know, and I think just generally, just people, is that beyond it being a show that's a musical, because I hear some people saying, well, I really like the show, but I hate music. I hate musicals. Songs, guitars, get them away from me. I just want plot devices. It's still something that you can easily enjoy beyond that, because it's almost like a commercial break with relevant music in between. And it's something that stays quirky, it stays self-aware, it doesn't take itself too seriously. At the same time, it knows just the amount of seriousness to take it. And it just makes for an all-around enjoyable time. I think so much so that if I had 1 week to live, I would still want to finish Season 2 of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend to see where it is. And if I had like an entire, 10 years to live, I'd still be tuning into Gallivant every week and say, I'm in the mood for another Gallivant. Sounds nice. So, musical comedies, what do you guys think? Email me. Tell me how much you love them or hate them. I'm really interested. I really am. I'm going to make a survey out of them. And I'm just going to put them all into a hat, and I'm not going to tell anybody what the survey brought up. It's just going to be for my own personal enjoyment. So when we come back with this commercial break, we're going to be talking about People of Earth and other shows. Stick around.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hey everybody, welcome back, you weird people, to another episode of Television Podcast with GSMC. You're not weird, you're beautiful, I'm sure. Everyone is on the inside, right? I think of it as a compliment. I'm not going to justify it, I just called you weird. We're fine. So anyways, now that we've talked about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and, the whole Gallivant, we're going to move on to some more bizarre stuff. Now, we've already talked about Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I know I said People of Earth, it's coming, don't worry. But I'm going to go back to Ash vs. the Evil Dead and talk about some comparisons with that and Stan against Evil. In my new short segment, Ash vs. the Evil Dead vs. Stan against Evil. It's a long title. I wish we had graphics for this stuff, but this is an audio podcast. It's the best we can do is just make long titles. So now that we've talked about the title, let's talk about the content inside of that title. Stan Against Evil is another Ash vs. the Evil Dead type of show, and it takes place in a New England town, the spookiest of towns, and the newest of England's. So in a New England town built on the site of a massive witch burning and is haunted by demons, Stanley Miller, the former sheriff, teams up with Evie, the new sheriff, to defend the town. Are you guys sold on that yet? You should be. If not, that's okay, because I'm not done talking about stuff. So, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, as you guys know, has been a thing that's been going on for a long time, since, all the way back to The Evil Dead 2, The Evil Dead 3, Evil Dead A New Hope, Evil Dead the Twin Tower, the Two Towers. So the Ash vs. the Evil Dead is about a man who is missing an arm and kind of a jerk who is has to basically kill evil, and he has to save the world from the Necronomicon, paired up with his friends, one being Pablo, and the ever-terrifying Kelly, as they just kill evil and make sure it's dead. It's a very, you get the title, you get what you came for, right? Now, Stan Against Evil, also the main character, Stan, from what I've seen, we're only 2 episodes in, promising so far, I guess, is also about a guy who is very much a jerk. And jerk. I'm just going to say that 3 more times to get out of my system. And he's also protecting the town while still being a jerk. The big difference, I think, about these, and it's so early to tell with Stan Against Evil, whereas we have Ash vs. the Evil Dead, we're in Season 2, we're kind of getting a good direction of things. Ash is a womanizer, he is rude, he's crude, but there is a very lovable factor to him. He's, at the same time, he's kind of cute about it, right? Like, it's not so much where like, oh, he just said something sexist, how cheeky. Whereas then you have the show Stan Against Evil, I'm sorry. It's a very... I shouldn't have put these both together. Stan Against Evil, where he's rude, but at the same time, it's not as lovable. Now, you may recognize the actor Stan as Dr. Cox from the show Scrubs. That's right. He's still alive and still making shows. I'm hoping everybody that's listening right now goes, oh, he's doing something new? I liked Dr. Cox from Scrubs. I can give this a chance. Bloody, goody gawk. So, in this, I'd like to think that Stan Against Evil isn't something that's as strong as Ash vs. the Evil Dead, but it's something that's definitely worth giving a chance to. I'm definitely going to be keeping up with it, and this won't be my last time talking about it. By the time the end of Season 1, I want to come back to it and say, here's my thoughts. This is something, would I watch it again? Yes. Would I not watch it again? No. But it definitely, at the time of this review, it seems like it still needs to find itself. It's silly. It's very silly. It might be too silly, but not silly enough to pull it off, like Angie Tribeca, which, if anyone hasn't seen Angie Tribeca right now, put your pants on, get outside, go buy Angie Tribeca Season 1. It's a good show. But don't worry. It's you have plenty of time for that. Stan Against Evil is something that seems kind of like a mess right now. They see the formula for a jerky guy killing monsters, and I think they're trying out a few different options for it. I think they need to lower the jerk down a bit to where he's just kind of a little bit more lovable, and they need to make things, feel free to be silly about things, feel free to be campy, but don't be like Sharknado, where, look how campy I am, guys. Look, it's like that movie, The Room. Look how dumb I am. Isn't that great? Like, at least, you be campy, but don't be so self-aware, because nothing's worse than just constant meta jokes on how campy you could be. That's a personal opinion to me. I mean, I know a lot of people out there are just going, Sharknado, I love Sharknado. It's my favorite thing. And that's fine. You're allowed to like things. But as far as Stan Against Evil comes out on IFC, it premiered on Halloween. It's going to have 8 episodes for this first season, and let's hope that it turns out good. Let's hope that. That being said, a lot of positive reviews are for Stan Against Evil, and I really am excited about it. But let's jump in to. Okay, here we go. Build up for dramatic effect. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. I'm done. For People of Earth, starring Wyatt Cenac. I don't mean to sound cynical. I'm sorry. I don't even have a reason to say that. Wyatt Cenac was in The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. That's the worst pun I've ever made, and I couldn't even make it make sense. Now, he was at The Daily Show with Jon Stewart as a news correspondent, and now he is in his own show where he is going on and he is abducted by aliens. It starts out like a normal day where he's having dreams about a deer that he hit with his car until he realizes that doesn't make sense because something. I'm not giving too much away about it, but I will. There's going to be slight spoilers, but only like 2 episodes in worth of spoilers. It turns out that Wyatt Cenac, while he's a news journalist, investigating and checking out these people that are, just your regular run-of-the-mill homies, your cool guys that are doing an alien abduction support group, they are getting, he realizes he himself has been abducted by aliens. And the entire time it's a panic of, oh my God, what's going on? Life is hard now. I've been abducted by aliens. So he quits his flashy job and he starts working at the small town that he was abducted in with the alien support group and just tries his best to live life figuring out why aliens abducted him. There are 3 different types of aliens in the story. The short little gray guys with big eyes. You have your lizard people, which are, famous actors and the Queen of England. And you also have your tall white Norsemen who are like 6 feet tall and look like they're art students. So the show, much like Stand Against Evil, it's very offbeat. It's something that's also coming on to, I believe, IFC, and it's it's TBS. My bad. It's a TBS show, and it's one that I'm really interested in seeing where it's going. What I'm really loving about channels like TBS and IFC. They're keeping, and Adult Swim especially, we can't forget about that, is they're keeping up this level of weird that you wouldn't see on network television shows. They're not afraid to put things that almost seem experimental, like a college kid's rendition of an Andy Warhol painting. I'm really not good with these metaphors today. I don't know what's happening. But so far with it, I feel like we're seeing this kind of brave exploration into what TV can be, where it doesn't have to be canned laughter, or it doesn't have to be, oh, is he going to find love in time? Or is he going to be able to work here when his enemy works here at the burger store? It just creates, we're seeing just things that I think in 5 years it's going to have a huge payoff when we're not going to be afraid to show mainstream, oh, let's see aliens get abducted and it's a comedy, and let's not make it a Third Rock from the Sun kind of thing. Let's make it if Rick and Morty was live action. And that's what ultimately I'm hoping for things to just get weirder on TV. I support shows that I don't necessarily like as long as they're staying away from a sitcom kind of thing, as long as we're keeping away from a Big Bang Theory kind of style. Even if it's not my type at all, because it's paving the way for something even weirder next year, and even weirder the year after that, where we can see TV as this huge, big variety of just good, odd stuff. I hope you guys feel the same way, but if not, don't worry, because I don't think things like 2.5 Men are really going to be going anywhere, because there's always a place in people's heart for something that tells you when to laugh and when to go, aww. So, with that being said, I'm about to have to take us to a commercial break. When I come back, we're going to be talking about Walking Dead. We've missed a couple weeks of it, so I'm going to do a little quick recap of what's been happening. Spoilers are ahead, so if you want to avoid spoilers for it, go ahead and skip over, because I'm also going to be trying my best to fit in some Westworld. So with all that said, guys, stick around, stay tuned, unless you don't want to get anything spoiled at you. And I love you like sons. I'll see you very soon. And daughters. Love you like a son and a daughter.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Golden State Media Concepts Center Weird Television Podcast with your host Jordan Giles. We are coming to a close, so I wanted to save all the spoilers for last. Welcome to our weekly talk about something big that's happening on TV. I was hoping we can fit Westworld and Walking Dead into both, but if not, Westworld can definitely come in next week. So I wanted to go ahead and open up with not this last week's episode of Walking Dead, which was very traumatic, heartbreaking. I mean, come on, Daryl, stay a survivor. You're doing great. I want to talk about the one before that, which I'd like to think may be the weirdest Walking Dead episode we've ever seen. And I'd like to say that because it's opened up, the show opens up with a pun, which may not be a big deal in any other show. I mean, yeah, puns, everybody loves them, or they hate them, or they hate to love them. But this is a show where people are constantly getting killed, bitten, the worst of humanity is seen every episode, and we come into a guy who's holding a tiger, talking very royally like this, and the tiger has a name. So the episode called The Well starts out with Carol getting pushed, after nearly dying, getting pushed in a wheelchair by Morgan, which I'd like to say are two of the my personal favorite characters on the show. And he's like, all right, well, there's this guy and he's going to take care of you. What's his name, Carol says. He goes by King Ezekiel. So you already think, oh, this is going to be weird. This is going to be a psychopath and he's going to like that punk rock thing. But instead, you see something that you've never seen in this show, which doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to even think of what you can call it. It's crazy. It is. It's the man sitting on a stage holding a tiger with a guard, his loyal steward, and everyone kind of acting as if they're in a medieval world with their me lords and, yes, right this way, madam. Here you go, sire, and things along those lines. And you think, what show am I watching? When I first saw the first 5 minutes of it, I started laughing my butt off. I couldn't control myself. It was just, it was so ridiculous. But as we came on through the show, you kind of get this interesting thing where you see the different life that thrives in a show like The Walking Dead, where it's not always so brutal. And even if it is, there's still a hope, a glimpse that people can kind of keep some sort of happiness in it. In The Walking Dead, we normally see people get wiped away. We normally see any kind of happiness disappear. Like, we might be just jumping on and we see a city and the city's like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. Those people look great. And then as soon as, the gang, we can call them the gang, our family, Rick and so on, arrive, things just start going awful. And I guess that's just the price that you pay with these kind of shows. But I'm sure that this is going to happen to King Ezekiel. His kingdom is going to be wiped out because Negan is a power-hungry, the worst person on TV. But it gives you a lot of hope when you see somebody like that who maintains a little bit of fun at the end of the world, who, despite everything going bad, can still have a little time to enjoy life. It's a beautiful thing. But more along with that, all that aside, it's great also to see Carol and Morgan again. It's great to know that Carol's still alive. She's still doing well. And it's great to see their characters evolve. Now, Carol's kind of the rogue out of the group, I guess. I mean, she plays on a part and she gets through wherever she needs to go. And you have Morgan, who's the do-gooder, who, how can you do good in a world with so much evil, going through that whole thing. But they both seem to be maintaining, and they both seem to be doing better than any of the other characters in the show right now, by far. So it's, I'm going to say, if you guys are looking forward to catching up, but you want to watch them all together, get ready, because this episode with King Ezekiel in it is definitely a memorable one, and it is something that you're going to want to check out. It actually, for the first time in The Walking Dead, I didn't feel like there was this emotional toll taken when watching it. It just made me feel very happy. And finally, before we wrap up, I'd like to talk to you guys about the newest episode of The Walking Dead, where Daryl is now kept captive, and it's something that we can all be scared of. I know a lot of people that are wearing their "If Daryl Dies, We Riot" shirts, which I can't believe that's still a thing, but, that's fine. I love the character, too. This was a very hard episode, because Daryl is the favorite amongst a lot of us fans, and to see everything just fall apart, whether it's him having to listen to the same annoying song for every day, every single minute, to being locked in a cold room, to eating what I think was a crap sandwich. it seemed like a miserable world to live in. But it's great to see the strength that he has, and I think that's one of the reasons that Daryl is still one of my favorite characters in the show, is that he's somebody that stays determined and he doesn't give up. Now, I don't want to give too much away on this one episode because it's still pretty fresh. Next week, if we can, we're going to be talking about it, or we might be doing it on a bi-weekly. But I will say this when it comes to the newest episode of The Walking Dead. Daryl is a survivor. And I think that, anybody can die in the show. Everyone's expendable. But it doesn't change the fact that Daryl is somebody in this show that he's not your favorite just because you think he's attractive. He's your favorite because he's tough, he's loyal. And I think that if everybody in this episode, like if all the characters have certain strengths and weaknesses, but he's a powerhouse when it comes to keeping the gang together, to keeping the fam all right. So with that being said, we are out of time. I know I'm upset too. When we come back next week, we're going to have a lot of cool stuff to talk about, I'm sure. But in the meantime, if you did like what you heard, you can check us out on GSMCpodcast.com. You can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play. And in the meantime, till next time, guys, stay saucy.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.